Chantal Leptos with another interview for mecho.com.au. Today we'll be speaking to our February guest blogger, Simon Griffiths.
I guess in some ways I probably started following the traditional career path and then decided not to go down that direction anymore. So I studied engineering and commerce when I was at university, and when I left I worked as an engineer for a little bit and as an investment banker for a little bit before realizing that although I was using all the skills that I loved from my courses and whatever, I didn't really care that much about the outcomes that I was achieving at work. I didn't really care about what we were really supposed to be achieving as the big picture. And so as a result, when I guess had that realization, I decided to spend a bit more time overseas, and I moved to Africa and spent 6 months living over there doing a lot of development work before coming to the conclusion that I could kind of achieve those outcomes and work on kind of creating good outcomes in the developing world whilst doing some smart stuff with business here in Australia. So now I live in Melbourne and I work as what's called a social entrepreneur, and I guess that's what I get called, but I hate the term. And we at the moment are working on setting up a non-profit bar here in Melbourne called Shebeen. The biggest project was in South Africa. I went over to South Africa and helped to set up the South African side of a new project that I'd worked on previously in Melbourne. And the idea was that we were basically linking up kids in townships in South Africa with kids the same age in schools in Melbourne. And I guess the concept behind that is that a lot of kids in those townships really don't have a lot of the life skills and basics of knowledge that we really take for granted over here. So the idea that rape is bad and unacceptable, or that it's important to get a job, and to do as much as you can at schools so that you can get educated and have a great foot up when it comes to getting into university or doing an apprenticeship or whatever. So that was some really great work, and I really loved what we were working on and achieving there. But at the same time, I realised that although the outcomes matched where my passions lied, the process of achieving it wasn't my strength, and working on the ground wasn't for me. Everything kind of moved too slowly, and I got very frustrated as a result. So I was motivated to come back to Australia and create something here that supported those outcomes, but not be working on the ground, so to speak. Well, I guess I came back from Africa a few years ago now, and really kind of wrote a business plan for Shebeen while I was over there. So that's the next step for us, is getting this non-profit bar open. So the basic concept is that we sell beers and wines from the developing world. So from Namibia, we've got Huynh. From Ethiopia, we've got St. George and Castel. From South Africa, we've got amazing wines from Stellenbosch. Beer Lao from Laos, obviously, Sin Stout from Sri Lanka, and a lot more as well. And when you have one of those beers, the profit from that sale supports a development project in that drink's country of origin. So if you have a Vietnamese Huda beer, you're taking someone off the street in Hanoi and putting them through 4.5 days of vacation hospitality training. And if you have a glass of South African wine, then you're supporting rape prevention awareness projects in South Africa. So it's pretty simple. It's kind of changing the way that consumers engage with products, but doing that in to create a secondary and positive outcome. The word comes from the apartheid era in South Africa, where basically the white South African government outlawed drinking and trade in the townships. So, like prohibition in the States, everyone started brewing their own beers and distilling their own spirits at home in bathtubs. And some people turned their tiny little 4-bedroom houses into these places where you go for a drink or to listen to live music or to go on a date. And those were the Shebeens of South Africa. And in a very kind of repressed era, they I guess became social and cultural hubs for the community to gather around and to let their hair down. And some pretty amazing black South African apartheid era movements came out of there. So now, as apartheid began to fall, the South African government had to legalise these shebeens. And today, when you go to South Africa, you'll go to a shebeen. If you want a beer from a bar or a bottle shop, you'll go to a shebeen. And if you want to get a late night drink somewhere illegal, you'll go to a shebeen on the township as well. I guess, I ride my bike a lot, so I'll typically be the sweaty guy in the room when everyone sits down, and I'm the one that starts dripping with sweat and has the wet mark up my back from riding in the rain. That's probably my style.
Thanks for tuning in to our Q&A with Simon Griffiths. Now feel free to pop through your own questions or comments online for Simon to answer. Love your style.